I'm giving you everything, Thessaly. The penthouse, the cars. Just sign the papers. My husband's voice was ice, cold, final. I stared at Kazuya across the mahogany table, my hands trembling. 24 years of marriage reduced to a stack of divorce papers and his attorney's fake, sympathetic smile. Why? I whispered. Just tell me why. He wouldn't even look at me. Does it matter? It did. God, it did. Because 3 months ago, everything was perfect. And now? Now I was losing everything, and I didn't even know what I'd done wrong. But here's what I didn't know. What nobody told me was that the answer was hiding in plain sight. At a place I'd walked past 100 times, with a woman whose name I didn't even know. Yet. Are you ready to find out what really happened? Because trust me, you're not going to believe this. Kindly hit the subscribe button to get updates whenever we release new interesting stories. My name is Thessaly Whitmore Ashikaga, and 6 months ago, I had it all. A billionaire husband who built a tech empire from nothing. A mansion in Pacific Heights with a view that made visitors weep. Invitations to galas where champagne cost more than most people's monthly rent. I was the wife everyone envied, the woman who had captured Kazuya Ashikaga's heart when he was just an ambitious programmer with a dream. I met him at Stanford 25 years ago. I was studying art history. He was pulling all-nighters in the computer science lab. I brought him coffee at 3 a.m. He told me I had kind eyes. 6 months later, we were married. I gave up my dreams to support his. Moved to Japan for 5 years while he built his company. Hosted endless dinners for investors who barely acknowledged me. Ian smiled through the loneliness when he worked 18-hour days, but I never complained, because I loved him, because I believed in us. 3 months ago, everything changed. It started small. He stopped touching me, stopped really seeing me. His phone became his constant companion, face down on every surface, password protected with sudden urgency. Work stress, he said when I asked. I believed him. God help me. I believed every lie. Then came the day he moved into the guest bedroom. Then the separate vacations. Then the lawyer's call that shattered my world. And now? Now I'm about to discover that the woman who destroyed my marriage has been right under my nose this entire time. The pen felt like a weapon in my hand. Mrs. Ashikaga, if you could just sign here. The attorney, a sharp-eyed woman named Veronica, pointed to the highlighted line. It's still Ms. Whitmore legally, I said, my voice barely steady. I never changed my name officially. Kazuya's jaw tightened. Even now, after all this, God help me, he was still the most beautiful man I'd ever seen. 47 years old, and he could have passed for 40. That sharp jawline. Those dark eyes that used to look at me like I was his entire world. When did that change? When did I become invisible? Thessaly, he said quietly, please, don't make this harder than it has to be. Harder? The word came out as a laugh, sharp and bitter. You're divorcing me after 24 years and you won't even tell me why. But you won't tell me who she is. There's no one. Don't you dare lie to me. I slammed my hand on the table. Veronica jumped. Kazuya didn't even flinch. I'm not stupid, Kazuya. Men don't just stop loving their wives for no reason. Men don't suddenly need space and privacy and separate bedrooms unless there's someone else. He stood up, buttoning his Tom Ford suit jacket with methodical precision. Sign the papers, Thessaly. You're getting $50 million. Most women would be grateful. I don't want your money. I want the truth. He looked at me then. Really looked at me. And what I saw in his eyes made my blood run cold. Pity. The truth is, he said softly, I haven't been happy for a long time, and neither have you. You just didn't want to admit it. He left before I could respond. The door clicked shut with devastating finality. Veronica cleared her throat. Miss Whitmore, I know this is difficult, but get out. The papers? I said get out. She gathered her files and fled. I sat alone in that conference room, surrounded by the wreckage of my life, and made a decision. I wasn't signing anything until I knew the truth, no matter what it took. I hired a private investigator the next morning. His name was Marcus Rivera, and he came highly recommended by my friend Delilah, who'd used him during her own messy divorce. He had the kind of face that could blend into any crowd. Average height, forgettable features, sharp eyes that missed nothing. I need to know everything, I told him in his cramped office in the Tenderloin. Where he goes, who he sees, especially who he sees. Marcus leaned back in his chair, studying me. Mrs. Ashikaga, in my experience, clients think they want the truth. But the truth usually hurts worse than the not knowing. I'm already dying inside. At least let me know why. He nodded slowly. It'll take about a week. Maybe 2. These tech billionaire types, they're careful. They have security, multiple cars, kidokoi routines. He wasn't always a billionaire, I said quietly. He was just Kaz once. Just a boy who loved coding and terrible coffee, and me. People change. No. I met his eyes. People lie. There's a difference. Marcus started the investigation that afternoon. For 5 days, I existed in a strange limbo. I stayed at my mansion, wandering through rooms that suddenly felt like a museum, evidence of a life that no longer existed. The kitchen where we'd cooked terrible pasta together in the early days. The library where he'd proposed, surrounded by books, on one knee, his hand shaking. The bedroom where we'd made love and shared secrets and built a world that was supposed to last forever. All of it, a lie? Or just over? On day 6, Marcus called. I've got something, he said. But you need to see this in person. My heart hammered. Who is she? One of his executives? That new VP everyone talks about? Just come to my office. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Trust me on this. That night, I couldn't sleep. I imagined her. This woman who'd stolen my husband. She'd be young, obviously. Probably Asian, matching his preference. Brilliant, ambitious. Everything I'd stopped being when I'd devoted my life to supporting his dreams. I imagined her in designer clothes, in boardrooms, in his arms. I imagined everything, but I never imagined the truth. Marcus's office smelled like coffee and manila folders. He had a corkboard covered in photos, string connecting them like some detective show, but I only saw one. I leaned closer. That's a diner, Sterling's, on Valencia Street. I know that place. We used to go there when we first moved to the city. He still goes there, Marcus said. Every Tuesday and Thursday. Has been for 8 months. 8 months. 2 months before he'd asked for the divorce. And? My voice was steady, calmer than I felt. Who does he meet there? Marcus pinned another photo next to it. My breath caught. The woman was stunning. Deep brown skin, natural hair and locks pulled back elegantly, a smile that could light up a room. She wore a simple waitress uniform, Sterling's logo on the breast pocket. But she carried herself with a grace that made the polyester look like haute couture. She was serving coffee. Kazuya was looking up at her, and the expression on his face. God. The expression on his face. It was the way he used to look at me. Her name is Zephyrine Baptiste, Marcus said. Everyone calls her Zeph. She's 34. Born in Haiti, moved to the States when she was 12. Single mother of a 7-year-old daughter. Works 3 jobs. Waitress at Sterling's, night cleaning at an office building, weekend shifts at a community center in the Fillmore. I couldn't stop staring at the photo. She's a waitress. Yes? He's leaving me for a waitress. It appears that way. Something hysterical bubbled up in my throat. I thought, I thought it would be someone from his world. Someone powerful, brilliant, his equal professionally. But he's throwing away our marriage for someone who serves coffee? Marcus's expression softened. Ms. Whitmore, from what I've observed, she's not just someone who serves coffee. There's something there. Something real. Real. The word tasted like poison. I have more photos. Video surveillance. They meet twice a week. Every week. They talk for hours. He makes her laugh. Marcus hesitated. She makes him different. Softer. More like a real person than a CEO. Show me everything. For the next hour, Marcus walked me through 8 months of my husband's secret life. Photos of them at the diner, their heads bent close together. Video of them walking through the Mission District, not touching but orbiting each other like binary stars. More photos, her daughter's school play, where Kazuya sat in the audience, bouquet of flowers in hand. My husband, at a school play, for another woman's child. I swallowed hard. Have they slept together? I can't confirm that. They're careful. But Ms. Whitmore, I'd bet my license on it. I stood up, my legs shaking. I need to see her, in person. I'm not asking for your permission, Marcus. I'm going to that diner. Tomorrow. He sighed. Then let me give you some advice. Don't go in angry. Don't make a scene. Just observe. Because if you're planning your next move, you need to understand what you're up against. What I'm up against? She's a waitress stealing someone else's husband. She's a woman who made your husband feel something he wasn't feeling at home. Marcus's words were gentle but devastating. And if you want to fight for your marriage, you need to understand what that something is. I left his office with a folder full of photos and a heart full of rage. Tomorrow, I'd meet the woman who destroyed my life. And God help us both. Sterling's diner looked exactly like I remembered. Red vinyl booths, black and white checkered floor, a jukebox in the corner that probably hadn't worked since 1987. The smell of coffee and bacon grease hit me the moment I walked in. It was 2 p.m. on a Thursday, Kazuya's day. I slid into a booth near the back, where I could see everything. My hands were shaking so badly I had to clasp them under the table. And then I saw her. Zéphirine Baptiste moved through the diner like water, graceful and efficient. She refilled coffee cups, delivered plates, laughed with the regulars. Her locks were pulled back in a ponytail today, and she had the kind of beauty that didn't need makeup or designer clothes. Natural. Real. Everything I'd spent 20 years trying to be in Kazuya's world of artificial perfection. Coffee? Han? She appeared at my table, pot in hand, that $1,000,000 smile already forming. Up close, she was even more stunning. Warm brown eyes, a smattering of freckles across her nose, laugh lines that said she did that often. Laughed, smiled, found joy in small things. Yes, I managed. Black. She poured, and I noticed her hands. Working hands. A small scar on her thumb. Short, practical nails. The hands of someone who actually did things, not someone who got weekly manicures at salons where a single visit cost what she probably made in a day. You look familiar, she said suddenly, tilting her head. Have you been in here before? Long time ago. My voice sounded strange, distant. With my husband. Well, welcome back. She started to turn away. Zéphirine. She froze, turned back slowly. How do you know my name? Sit down. I'm working. Sit. Down. Something in my voice must have warned her. She glanced at the counter where an older man, the owner probably, nodded permission. She slid into the booth across from me, wariness replacing warmth. Who are you? Thessaly Ashikaga. But you probably know me as Kazuya's wife. The color drained from her face. Oh God. Oh God is right. I leaned forward. How long? I don't. This isn't. How long have you been sleeping with my husband? She flinched like I'd slapped her. I'm not. We're not. It's not like that. Then what is it like? Please, enlighten me. Because from where I'm sitting, you're a home-wrecking waitress who decided to trade up. Her eyes flashed. You don't know anything about me. I know you serve coffee and steal husbands. He came to me. The words exploded out of her. Then, quieter, her eyes shining with tears. He came to me. I didn't seek him out. I didn't even know who he was at first. And when you found out? When you realized he was married, rich, and vulnerable? You must have thought you'd won the lottery. She stood up abruptly. I need to get back to work. Sit down, we're not done. Yes, we are. Her voice was steady now. Sad. Because you came here looking for someone to blame. Someone who isn't him. And I'm sorry, Mrs. Ashikaga. I'm sorry you're hurting. But I'm not the reason your marriage ended. Then who is? She looked at me for a long moment. Maybe you should ask yourself when you stopped making him happy. When he stopped making you happy, because from what he's told me, you two have been going through the motions for years. He talks about me? To you? He talks about everything. That's what we do. We talk. She grabbed her order pad. And you know what? In 8 months of conversations, he's never once said he hates you. He just said he's tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of being who everyone expects him to be. And you're what? His escape? His charity case? The words were meant to wound. They did. I saw it in her eyes. But then she smiled sadly. I'm just someone who listens. Someone who sees him as Kaz, not Kazuya Ashikaga, CEO. Maybe that's what he needed all along. Someone who doesn't want anything from him except his time. She walked away, leaving me alone with my cold coffee and colder realizations. And because deep down, in a place I didn't want to acknowledge, I knew she was right. I didn't go home. Instead, I sat in that booth for 3 more hours, ordering coffee I didn't drink, watching Zephyrine work, watching her laugh with customers, watching her slip extra bacon onto an elderly man's plate when he wasn't looking, watching her handle a crying toddler with the ease of someone who understood children. At 5:15 p.m., my husband walked through the door. He didn't see me at first. His eyes went straight to her. And the transformation, God, the transformation, was instantaneous. The tension melted from his shoulders. The hard CEO mask cracked into something genuine. When Zephyrine saw him, her whole face lit up like sunrise. She poured his coffee without asking. He said something that made her laugh. She swatted his shoulder playfully. They looked happy. I wanted to throw my coffee cup at them. I wanted to scream. I wanted to make them hurt the way I was hurting. But I just sat there, invisible in my corner booth, watching my husband fall in love with someone else. You should go. A voice startled me. The older man from the counter, name tag reading Sterling, slid into the seat Zephyrine had vacated hours earlier. Nothing good's gonna come from sitting here torturing yourself. Does everyone know? About Kaz and Zeph? He shrugged. The regulars figured it out. They're not exactly subtle. The way they look at each other. He trailed off, probably seeing my expression. How did it start? Sterling sighed. He came in alone one night, about 8 months back. Late, after we should have been closed. Zeph was the only one here finishing her shift. He looked like hell. You know that look people get when they're barely holding it together? I knew. I'd seen it in the mirror for months. She made him coffee. They talked. He came back the next week. And the next. And somewhere in there. Sterling spread his hands. Look, I'm not saying what they did was right. but I've owned this diner for 32 years. I've seen a lot of people, a lot of relationships, and what those two have, that's real. He's my husband. I know, and I'm sorry. But maybe he stopped being yours long before he became hers. The words hit like bullets. Before I could respond, Sterling stood up. I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm trying to save you some pain. Because you can fight for something that's broken, or you can let it go and find something better. But you can't force someone to love you when they've already left. He walked away. At the counter, Kazuya was paying his bill. Zephyrin said something that made him smile. That real, genuine smile I hadn't seen in years. Then he did something that shattered me completely. He reached across the counter and took her hand, just for a moment. Just long enough for her to squeeze back. A small gesture. Intimate. The kind of touch that spoke of countless other touches. Of familiarity. Of belonging. I stood up on shaking legs and walked out before they could see me. Outside, the San Francisco fog was rolling in, cold and thick. I stood on the sidewalk, gasping for air, feeling like I was drowning. My phone rang. Delilah. Well? She asked the moment I answered. Did you confront her? Throw coffee in her face? Tell me you at least made a scene. She's not what I expected, I whispered. What do you mean? She's good, Delilah. She's kind and real, and she makes him happy. And I hate her for it. Honey, I've been his wife for 24 years. I gave up everything for him. My dreams, my career, myself, and he chose a waitress who probably makes minimum wage and has nothing to offer him except... My voice broke. Except herself. Just herself. And apparently, that's enough. Come to my place. You shouldn't be alone. But I didn't go to Delilah's. I drove to the mansion, my prison of luxury, and sat in my car in the garage, the engine ticking as it cooled, and finally let myself break. Because Sterling was right. Zephyrin was right. I'd lost my husband long before she found him. And the question was, what was I going to do about it? I signed the divorce papers 3 days later. Kazuya looked surprised when his lawyer called. She signed? Without negotiation? I wasn't there, but Marcus had bugged Veronica's office. Illegal? Yes. Did I care? Not even a little. Every page, Veronica confirmed. She wants it finalized as quickly as possible. A pause. Then quietly, is she okay? Why do you care? Veronica's voice held an edge. You got what you wanted. I never wanted to hurt her. Then you shouldn't have fallen in love with someone else while you were still married. Another pause. Yeah. I listened to the recording 3 times. That last word. Yeah. Held so much. Guilt. Resignation. Truth. He loved her. Zephyrin. Zeph. The waitress with nothing to offer except everything that mattered. I threw myself into moving on. Delilah helped me find a penthouse in Nob Hill, smaller than the mansion, but mine. I started seeing a therapist. I rejoined my book club. I even went on a date with a venture capitalist Delilah knew. He was handsome, successful, attentive, and I felt absolutely nothing. Give it time, my therapist, Dr. Okoye, said in one session. You're grieving. A divorce is a death. The death of your future, your identity, your partnership. You can't rush through grief. How long? I asked. How long until I stop imagining him with her? As long as it takes. She leaned forward. But Thessaly, can I ask you something? Are you grieving the loss of Kazuya, or the loss of who you thought you were? The question haunted me. 6 weeks after I signed the papers, I drove past Sterling's diner. It was Thursday, 2 p.m. I told myself I was just passing through, just happened to be in the neighborhood. Liar. I parked across the street and waited. Like a stalker. Like a pathetic, broken woman who couldn't let go. At 2:17, Kazuya's Tesla pulled up. He got out and... My heart stopped. Zephyrine was with him. She must have had the day off because she wasn't in her uniform. Instead, she wore jeans and a simple sweater, and she looked radiant. They stood on the sidewalk, talking. Then Kazuya pulled her close and kissed her. Not a peck. Not a tentative, guilty kiss. A real kiss. The kind of kiss that says mine. The kind of kiss that stops traffic and makes strangers smile. The kind of kiss he used to give me. I watched them disappear into the diner together, hand in hand, and something inside me shifted. Not grief. Not anymore. Rage. Pure, white-hot rage, because I'd tried to be graceful. I'd tried to move on. I'd signed his papers and taken his money and tried to be the bigger person. But seeing them together, seeing him happy while I was drowning, no. No more. If Kazuya thought he could just discard 24 years of marriage and skip off into the sunset with his waitress, he had another thing coming. I called Marcus. I need you to dig deeper on Zephyrine Baptiste. Everything. Her past, her finances, her ex, her family, everything. Ms. Whitmore, what are you planning? I'm going to make sure she understands exactly what she's done and what it's going to cost her. This is a bad idea. I don't pay you for advice. I pay you for information. So get it. He got it. And what I learned changed everything. You need to see this. Marcus's voice on the phone was tight, worried. I drove to his office immediately. He had that corkboard out again, but this time, the photos weren't of Kazuya and Zephyrine. They were of Zephyrine and a man. A black man, around her age, with a lean build and hard eyes. Who is that? Thierry Baptiste, Zephyrine's ex-husband, father of her daughter, Amélie. Marcus pulled up a file on his computer. And here's where it gets interesting. Thierry served 8 years in San Quentin for armed robbery, got out 3 years ago. She's a convict's ex-wife? It gets better. Or worse, depending on your perspective. He clicked to another document. She divorced him while he was in prison, fought for sole custody. But here's the thing. Thierry's been trying to get back into their lives since his release. She's filed 3 restraining orders. All of them have expired or been dismissed due to his good behavior. I stared at the photos. You think he's dangerous? I think he's persistent and angry. According to my sources, he blames Zephyrine for testifying at his trial. She was the one who called the cops originally when he came home with the money. She turned him in? She was protecting their daughter. Amélie was 4. Thierry came home with $50,000 in cash and a gun. Zeph called 911. Marcus pulled up more documents. But Thierry sees it differently. He thinks she betrayed him. And now that he's out, he wants his family back. Does Kazuya know about this? I doubt it. Zeph seems to keep her past pretty private. And why would she volunteer that her ex is an ex-con who might be dangerous? I sat down slowly, my mind racing. This was it. This was the leverage I needed. What else? Marcus hesitated. Ms. Whitmore, I need to ask, what are you planning to do with this information? I haven't decided yet. Because if you're thinking of exposing her to Kazuya, to try to break them up, why? You think he'd leave her if he knew she came with baggage? An ex-con who might be violent? A messy past? No, Marcus said quietly. I think he'd try to protect her, and it would only drive them closer together. Damn it. He was right. I stood up, pacing. Then what do I do with this? Just nothing? You move on. You let them be. You... My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Thessaly Whitmore? A man's voice. Deep. Unfamiliar. Who is this? Someone who knows what your husband's been doing, and I think we should talk. My blood went cold. I don't know who you are, but... My name is Thierry Baptiste, and I think we have a common problem. your husband and my wife. Ex-wife, I corrected automatically. A low laugh. Not for long. Zeph and I belong together. Always have. This thing with your billionaire husband? It's just a phase. She's trying to give Emily a better life. I respect that. But it ends now. What do you want from me? To meet. To talk. To figure out how we're going to fix this mess they've made. A pause. Because you want him back, right? And I want my family back. So maybe we can help each other. Every instinct screamed this was a bad idea. Dangerous. Wrong. Tomorrow, I heard myself say. Tell me where. He did. And as I hung up, I caught Marcus staring at me in horror. Please tell me you're not actually going to meet with him. He's right. We have a common goal. He's an ex-con who might be violent. So maybe that's exactly what I need. I grabbed my purse. Someone willing to do what I'm too scared to do. Which is what? Whatever it takes. I left before Marcus could talk me out of it. Because the old Thessaly, the one who played by the rules, who was graceful and dignified, had gotten her nowhere. Maybe it was time to break some rules. I met Thierry Baptiste at a dive bar in the Bayview, the kind of place where nobody asked questions and everybody minded their business. He was sitting in the back corner when I arrived. Lean and dangerous, with the kind of stillness that comes from years of watching your back in prison. Thessaly. He stood when I approached, almost polite. Thanks for coming. I slid into the booth across from him, my pepper spray clutched in my purse. Make this quick. Straight to business, I respect that. He sipped his beer. Here's the situation. My ex-wife is playing house with your husband. They think they're in love. Maybe they are. But here's what they don't realize. They're building on a foundation of lies. What lies? Zeph never told your husband about me. About what I did. About the fact that I'm back in the picture. Thierry leaned forward. And you never told her that you're not just gonna roll over and let her steal your man. He's not. I stopped. Because who was I kidding? What exactly are you proposing? We scare them straight. We make them realize that this little fantasy they're living has consequences. Real-world consequences. How? His smile made my skin crawl. Leave that to me. All you have to do is be there when it matters. When Zeph needs to make a choice between her daughter's safety and her billionaire boyfriend. You're going to threaten Emily? I'm going to remind Zeph that I'm her father, that I have rights, that I'm not going anywhere. He finished his beer. And when your husband sees the kind of mess he's walked into, the drama, the danger, at the reality of Zeph's life, he'll run back to his nice, safe, uncomplicated ex-wife. He won't. He will. Men like him don't do messy. They do board meetings and stock options and wives who look good at charity galas. The moment this gets real, he'll bolt. I wanted to argue, but deep down, I wondered if he was right. What do you need from me? Information, access, and when the time comes, a well-timed call to Child Protective Services about Zeph's unstable living situation, an ex-con hanging around, a daughter being exposed to who knows what. That's going too far. Is it? Because from where I'm sitting, Zeph made her choice when she divorced me and took my daughter. When she told the cops about money that should have set our family up for life. She destroyed me, Thessaly. And your husband's helping her pretend she's some kind of saint. So this is revenge. This is justice. He stood up. You in or out? I should have set out, should have walked away from this man and his dangerous plans. But I thought of Kazuya's kiss with Zephyrine, of his smile, of 24 years of my life reduced to a signature on divorce papers. In, I whispered. But I'm not hurting a child. Won't have to. Just the threat is enough. Trust me. I know my ex-wife. Threaten Amélie, and Zeph will do anything to protect her, including pushing your husband away. He left cash on the table and walked out. I sat there for another 20 minutes, my hands shaking. What had I just agreed to? My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Tomorrow night. Zeph's apartment. Be ready. I drove home in a daze. Called Marcus. I think I just made a terrible mistake. What did you do? I'm working with Thierry. We're going to... Jesus Christ, Thessaly. Do you have any idea how dangerous this is? That man served 8 years for armed robbery. He's violent, unstable. He just wants his family back. Like I want my husband back. No. Marcus's voice was hard. He wants control, and you're giving it to him. Please, please back out of whatever you agreed to before someone gets hurt. It's too late. It's never too late. Call the police. Tell them what? That I'm helping an ex-con scare his ex-wife? I'd be arrested too. I laughed bitterly. I'm in this now, Marcus. For better or worse. I hung up before he could respond. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Amélie. 7 years old, innocent. I caught in the crossfire of adult mistakes. But I also thought about my future. Empty, alone, discarded. By morning, I'd convinced myself this was necessary. By afternoon, I'd silenced every doubt. And by evening, I was parked outside Zephirine's apartment building in the Mission, waiting for Thierry's signal. This was it. The moment everything changed. I just didn't realize how much. Thierry showed up at 7:45 p.m., just as streetlights flickered on. She's home, he said, sliding into my passenger seat. Amélie, too. Your husband's supposed to pick them up at 8:30. They're going to some fancy dinner. How do you know all this? He tapped his phone. I've been watching, waiting for the right moment. And tonight's it. He's going to show up and see exactly the kind of chaos he's walking into. What are you going to do? Just talk. Remind Zeph that I exist, that I'm not going away, and that our daughter needs her real father, not some billionaire playing house. He opened his car door. You stay here. When things get heated, you call the cops. Anonymous tip about a domestic disturbance. By the time they show up, your husband will be right in the middle of it. This is insane. This is necessary. Do you want him back or not? Before I could answer, he was out of the car and walking toward the building. I watched him hit the buzzer. Waited. Then the door opened and he disappeared inside. I sat there, my heart hammering. This was wrong. All of it. I reached for my phone to call it off, to call the police for real, to... The sound of shattering glass made me jump. Then shouting. Muffled through walls, but unmistakable. Thierry's voice, loud and aggressive. Zephirine's voice, sharp with fear. And then, oh God, a child crying. Amélie. I was out of the car before I could think. Running toward the building, taking stairs 2 at a time to the 3rd floor. The door to apartment 3C was ajar. Inside, chaos. Thierry had Zephirine backed against the wall, his hand gripping her arm. Amélie was pressed into the corner. My daughter? Let go of me. Zephirine, my daughter? Let go of me. Zephirine twisted, but his grip tightened. Stop. I didn't recognize my own voice. Let her go. They both froze. Thierry's eyes went cold. Well, the ex-wife. Right on time. This wasn't... We weren't supposed to... I couldn't catch my breath. Let her go. Make me. And then everything happened at once. The door flew open. Kazuya stood there, eyes wild, taking in the scene. Thierry's hand on Zephirine's arm, Amélie crying, me standing frozen in the middle of it all. What the hell is going on? His voice was ice. Thierry laughed. Perfect timing. Now we can all have a family meeting. Kaz, take Amélie. Zephirine started. But Thierry moved faster. He grabbed Amélie, pulling her against him. The girl screamed. Nobody moves. Nobody calls the cops. We're going to have a nice, calm conversation about how this is going to work going forward. Kazuya's eyes found mine. And what I saw there, the betrayal, the disgust, the complete realization of what I'd done, made me want to die. Thessaly, he said quietly, you did this. I just wanted... You brought him here. To terrorize the woman I love and her daughter. His voice shook. To do what? Win me back? She took you from me. I left. The words exploded out of him. I left because I was miserable, because we made each other miserable. And instead of accepting that, instead of moving on, you... He gestured at the nightmare surrounding us. You did this. Zephyrin was crying now. Amelie, baby, it's okay. Shut up. Thierry's grip on the child tightened, and Kazuya, my husband, my brilliant, careful husband, did something that made my heart stop. He stepped forward, calm, deliberate. Let the girl go, and you can have whatever you want. Money. A lot of it. Just let her go. Thierry's eyes gleamed. How much? Name your price. $1 million. The room went silent. Then Kazuya nodded. Done. I'll transfer it right now. Swiss account. Untraceable. But first, you let Amelie go. Kaz, don't... Zephyrin started. It's okay. He was looking at Amelie now, his voice soft. Hey, sweetheart. Remember me? We're going to get you out of here, okay? Thierry hesitated. $1 million versus a child he didn't really want. Greed won. He released Amelie. She ran to Zephyrin, who scooped her up, sobbing. Phone, Thierry demanded. Kazuya pulled it out, started typing, and I realized, watching him, that I'd never loved him more, or hated myself more. Because this man, this good, flawed, complicated man, was willing to pay a ransom for a child who wasn't his. For a woman who'd been in his life for less than a year. He'd never done anything like that for me, because I'd never needed rescuing. I'd always been safe, comfortable, uncomplicated. I'd been his partner, his wife, his companion, but I'd never been his passion. Transfer's pending, Kazuya said, showing Thierry the screen. It'll clear in 2 minutes, and then you leave. You never contact Zeph again. You never come near Amelie, or I'll make sure you go back to prison for the rest of your life. Big words for sirens outside. Minutes ago, when I saw her, he pointed to the window. You called the cops? I did. Marcus's voice came from the doorway. About 3 minutes ago, when I saw her, he pointed at me. Run into the building. Police were pounding up the stairs. Thierry made a run for it. Slammed into Marcus, who went down hard. Disappeared down the hallway as cops flooded in. They caught him on the 2nd floor. And me? I stood there as everything fell apart. As officers took statements. As Zephyrin held Amelie and Kazuya held Zephyrin. As Marcus held his bleeding nose and glared at me with pure disappointment. Finally, a detective approached. Detective Soames, her badge said. Ms. Whitmore, we're going to need to ask you some questions about your involvement with Mr. Baptiste. I wasn't... But Kazuya's voice cut through my panic. She conspired with him. She brought him here. She knew he was dangerous, and she used him to try to destroy what Zeph and I have. His eyes met mine. Cold. Final. Press charges. All of them. Kaz, please. You're done, Thessaly. We're done. Whatever you thought would happen here, whatever you thought you'd accomplish. He shook his head. You just became the villain in your own story. Detective Soames took my arm. Ms. Whitmore, you have the right to remain silent. As she read me my rights, as the world I'd tried so desperately to save crumbled completely, I watched Kazuya wrap his arms around Zephyrin and Amelie. Watched them become the family I'd destroyed. Watched my last chance at redemption disappear into the night. And realized, Too late that some things can never be fixed, only survived. 3 weeks later, I posted bail, got a lawyer, faced charges of conspiracy, reckless endangerment, and a dozen other crimes that could land me in prison for 5 to 10 years. The media had a field day. Billionaire's scorned wife orchestrates kidnapping plot. My face was everywhere. My name dragged through the mud. Kazuya filed a restraining order. I wasn't allowed within 500 feet of him, Zephyrin, or Emily. The divorce was finalized in record time. I lost everything. My reputation, my marriage, my freedom. But here's what nobody knew, what nobody saw coming. On week 3 of house arrest, waiting for trial, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find a woman I'd never met. Tall, elegant, Japanese, dressed in a suit that probably cost more than my bail. Thessaly Whitmore? Who are you? She smiled, cold, calculating. My name is Akari Tanaka. I'm Kazuya's business partner, and I think we need to talk. About what? About the fact that Kazuya just made Zephyrin Baptiste a primary beneficiary in his will. About the fact that he's transferring 40% of his company assets into an offshore trust in her name. And about the fact that... Her smile widened. I think your ex-husband is being conned by a woman who's very, very good at playing the victim. My heart stopped. What are you saying? I'm saying that maybe you weren't wrong about Zephyrin Baptiste. Maybe you were just wrong about how to expose her. Akari pulled out a folder. I have proof that she and Thierry were never really divorced. That the whole thing, the restraining orders, the fear, the damsel in distress act, was a setup. A long con to hook a billionaire stupid enough to fall for it. That's impossible. Is it? Or have you been so busy being the villain that you never stopped to consider that maybe there's a bigger villain in this story? She handed me the folder. Look at it. Really look. And then ask yourself, who's really being played here? I opened the folder with shaking hands, and what I saw made the entire world tilt on its axis. Because if what Akari was showing me was true, if Zephyrin and Thierry were working together, if this whole thing was orchestrated, then I wasn't the villain. I was just the first victim. And Kazuya was about to lose everything to the woman he thought he loved. And the question was, after everything I'd done, everything I'd destroyed, would he ever believe me if I tried to warn him? Or was it already too late? Comment below. Should Thessaly try to warn Kazuya, or let him face the consequences? Part 2. Coming soon.